Okay, hello folks, this is Norm the teacher here. Time for me to do another video and teach you something. I'm not going to look as pretty as I usually do, wearing my leather vest and my star and all that you see me a lot in other videos. It's because it's winter here and I'm dressed for cold. But it's actually about a 45-degree day, so it makes it possible to do this video. But I am still armed, as you can see. You always want to be armed, okay? So you just won't see it because all my winter clothing here is covering it. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video is about taking out the fuel tank out of a 91 Mazda 626 2.2 liter engine. And I'm in the process of dismantling this entire car. And so this is, I do videos as I go. And right now I've removed the fuel tank. And I want to show you some things I had to go through to get the fuel tank out. First of all, here is the fuel tank. And you can see it's pretty much intact. The big hole is where the fuel pump went through. And this is the fuel pump that came out. And this is the tube that came out. I'm filming with two cameras here, so I have to kind of move things around so both cameras can catch what's being filmed here. And this gas cap here obviously goes up where the body is, but right here there's 4 hoses I had to cut, and I'll show you why I had to cut them later. But I just want you to notice some things here. There's these lines. Look how rusted those lines are. Let's see, where's the, yeah, right there. That was a breakdown just waiting to happen. And this thing here, I don't know what it is. I believe it might be some kind of a filter. There's 2 lines that lead into it here, and then there's one line that exits it right here. So lead in. Get both cameras here. Lead in, and then an exit. I have a feeling it's a filter. I'm going to cut that open someday and see what's inside, and I'll probably do another video on that. But anyway, you can notice these hoses, how they were cut. And I'll show you why I had to cut them here in a minute when I do a close-up of the car. I did buy a new fuel pump for it, this part here, that motor, and I decided there was too many things wrong with the car, so I wasn't going to fix it. I'm just going to dismantle it and learn from it. Okay, here's where the hoses, here's where I cut them, and here's where they got cut from, on the fuel tank. Okay, these are the 2 lines that fed in, and when I talk about fed in and fed out, there's a return line and a feed line, and I'll show you that here in a minute, in the body of the car. But when you remove the fuel tank, you'll have to remove a 14mm bolt here, one here, one here, and I believe that's it. Yeah. Okay, and I'll show you that under the car where those attached. So 3 14mm bolts. You'll need a wrench with about a 1-foot extension to do that. Okay, now up to the car. Okay, the fuel cap obviously was here. These two little screws here will be rusted, and you'll have to use WD-40 to get them out. Then the first thing you had to do before you remove the fuel tank is you have to get rid of this cover. Light here. And actually the lighting isn't that good. But anyway, the cover went here. Here's the wheel well. Here's the wheel. And right behind it was this cover. And it covered, those bolts will be rusted also. So you might expect to have some trouble getting this cover off. And but anyway, I got it off. And then those tubes that I showed you coming from the gas cap, well, they filled this area here. That's what that plastic cover was covering. And then they went, the tubes went down into here, and went over to here, and the feed line and the return line, here's where the back seat was, and in the middle here there was a cover like this. It was covering it. You had, and these are the two lines. This one I believe was the feed line, and this was the return line, I believe. Let's see here. I don't want to misguide you on that. I marked it on the fuel pump. Let's see here. Yeah, the top one was the feed line. Okay, so back here. Yeah, this one was the feed line, and the one that has kind of ribs on it was the return line. And of course, that's the way the fuel pump works. The fuel pump works by, it pumps fuel into an area where the fuel injectors are up in the engine, and the unused fuel gets pumped back into the tank. So that's why you have a feed and return line. Okay, now, under the car we go. Under the car we go. Okay, this is gonna be awkward. I'll do the best I can filming stuff. But here's the feed line and return line from underneath the car. Okay, right there, and try to hold that still for you with the other camera. Okay, there's a strap here. See this strap hanging? And I can't get my other arm free to show you, point to it, but anyway, you can see a strap there kind of underneath that muffler pipe. Okay, that holds it on. You have to undo a bolt over there. I can't get my arm out. Well, maybe I get further under here. Have room to move my shoulder around. Yeah, there's a bolt over here. Yeah, I get my other camera catching that too. Oh, right there. And right there. And then there's a bolt up here. Oh no, there's no bolt. This comes out like this. Oh gosh. Like that. Do you kind of see the idea? See that notch there? And then those extensions go in there like that. Okay, that's how you undo that end. Okay, one of those tubes that I cut attached to this, and I don't even know what that is. I think it has to do some kind of evaporative control, but I don't. Any of you that knows what that is, let me know. Okay, okay. Here's where one of the bolts that held the tank up. Now this tab here, this tab here is for the factory. It made it convenient for them to push the tank here, and it held the tank while they pivoted it up on the other side. And so that was for factory convenience. Anyway, there's one of the bolts, and then here's, I'm not sure even know where this camera's pointing now. Is it right there? Hopefully that. Get a light in there. Yeah, see it right there? Right there. Okay. I'll just move the camera around enough so that I hopefully get it. And then freeze the frame. Okay, now, the tank was right in this area. Notice how in good shape the fuel lines are here. They look almost new. But when you get over here, where it gets under the body and it doesn't have the protection of the fuel tank, they're real rusty. That was a breakdown waiting to happen also. Let's see. Oh, okay. A camera here. Yeah, new looking fuel lines. Okay. At that point. Okay. Now, why did I cut the lines? I'll show you why I cut the lines. There was about no other way of doing it. First of all, see this cross member? I'm going to mention this cross member in an explanation here, so just remember where that's the cross member where on each end the struts and the suspension is attached to. Okay, here's why I cut the lines. When I undid those bolts underneath that holds the tank up, the tank came down, but then the lines went over that cross member I just showed you. and then that it goes over that cross member, and two of them attach over here inside the car, and then the other two attach to this tube here. That's you know, where you feel, you know, when you go to the gas station, and the big tube that comes down here and goes into the tank. Well, that one attached. Well, anyway, when the tank came down, the tubes were drooped over that cross member. They were bent over it, and there was no way for me to get my hands up in there to undo them. And I'll show you what I mean. What I would have had to undo. I would have had to undo some real rusty clamps that I couldn't get to anyway. So this clamp, that clamp, this clamp, that clamp, this clamp, that clamp, two cameras, remember, and this clamp and that clamp. This is the other end of the return and feed line. And so I couldn't get to those. So what I did is, when it was drooped over there, when the tank was drooped over, the tubes were right here. And I got me a long kitchen knife, about a foot long, with a real sharp blade. And I got in there and I just went, just sliced. And I sliced through all of the tubes while sitting here the way I am right now. It cut all the tubes, and then I was able to remove the tank. There was no way to get up into this area here with my hand and a wrench to get those clamps off. And at the factory, I think what they did is they installed the tank first, and then they installed that cross member. So the cross member wasn't in the way for the factory to install the tubes. But when you go to take it out, it certainly is. Now, if you want to go through the trouble to remove the cross member, which I will eventually do, then maybe you could undo the tubes that I cut instead of cutting them. But if you don't want to go through all the trouble to remove the cross member, remember, I'm retired, I have time to do this stuff. You working people don't have this kind of time. If you don't want to do that, you're going to have to cut the tubes. But then again, you're going to have trouble getting the new ones back on. So you might have to remove the cross member anyway. So I don't know what to tell you on that. So, but anyway, that's just a problem I encountered. I just wanted to get the tank out and get it to where I can ventilate the thing and get all the fumes out of it. And it'll take about 2 weeks to do that. So, of sitting it on the sun. That's one reason I have it outside, is it's in the sun, and I want that sun to heat up the tank enough to where those fumes evaporate out of there and vent out of there instead of smelling up my garage. So, hopefully I gave you some information. Lousy photography and lousy camera control, but I'm in a real awkward position trying to film this stuff. So, hopefully that helps you out, and I'll post this video, and I'll see you on the next video. So long from Norm the Teacher.